Good morning everybody, and welcome to your post-partner connection webinar today. Just to give you some context about these webinars, these are designed for people or partners that were unable to attend our recent partner connection roadshow across Australia. So what we've decided to do is break down our presentations into 3 different webinars. This is the 3rd of those webinars. We have previously had one on the roadmap and also one on the Account Right Live program. Today we have a couple of special guests joining us for the presentation. We have our product managers from the LiveAccounts team, Mr. Richard Puff and Ms. Susan Teschner. They're going to be taking us through LiveAccounts and where we're going with the LiveAccounts program. And as an FYI to everybody, this is also being recorded. So what that means is if you do have any friends or colleagues that were unable to attend either the event or today's webinar, we're going to make this available on the community forum and also via a communication that we'll send out in the next fortnight or so. If you are attending a webinar for the first time today, welcome aboard. You will see on the bottom right hand side of your screen a Q&A panel. Please do feel free to ask any questions throughout today's presentation, as both Richard and myself will be on hand to answer those. So without further ado, I think I'll hand over now to Susan, who will take us through LiveAccounts.
Thanks so much. Good morning, everyone. Thanks really for taking the time to be with us today. It's always exciting for us to get a chance to speak directly to our partners. So today we're going to talk about LiveAccounts and how clients really drive our world. It's something that you could say about MYOB. It is one of the values to which we strive to work. And LiveAccounts is just a great example, I think, of how we put that value into practice. So one of the questions that you might have been thinking around LiveAccounts is why MYOB would have built it in the first place. You know, you could argue that MYOB was an incredibly successful business with a range of sophisticated, tried and true products that had evolved over the course of many years. And, you know, we were, as a business, doing quite well with the Account Right range. But the reasoning really came from research that we had done and feedback that we were getting from partners and clients around a particular segment of the market. So we did a lot of research and found that between 51 and 69% of micro business, so we're talking about either sole traders or really businesses, you know, from 0 to 4 employees, that 51 to 69% of that audience found accounting and tax regulations either moderately or very difficult to understand. 52% of that audience found accounting software either moderately or very difficult to understand. And incredibly, amongst the micro businesses using MYOB software, 33% found accounting software either moderately or very difficult to understand. And so it became clear to us that there was a real segment of the market, of the small business world, for whom Account Right, a tried and true product, was not actually the best solution. And for those people, we felt it was really important to develop a new product that would meet their accounting needs, which were slightly different, and meet them in a very different way. So LiveAccounts was designed with those businesses in mind. And when we think about who LiveAccounts is really built for, it's primarily people that are new to accounting software. It's great for small businesses with simple processes and simple accounting needs. It's particularly useful for people and for businesses where there's not a lot of accounting knowledge. So we like to say that a LiveAccounts user doesn't know their debits from their credits, and they like it that way. These aren't the businesses that want to get under the hood, that want to do a lot of sophisticated reporting and analysis, that really want to investigate the ins and outs of the financial side of their business. These are the people for whom accounting is just part of the job. They want it to happen sort of automagically. Similarly, it's great for people that don't like to deal with software updates or backups. So So by sheer virtue of the fact that LiveAccounts is a web-based product, it's accessed solely online, there is no download or install, there's never any updating that the user has to do. LiveAccounts is always serving the latest version with all updates available all the time. And again, by virtue of the fact that it is online, it can be accessed anytime, anywhere you've got an internet connection. So from any machine, desktop, laptop, tablet, iPhone, iPad, anytime you've got time to deal with your books and you've got an internet connection and access to the internet, you can be working in LiveAccounts. It's really important to remember, though, that those last 2 points really aren't enough of a reason to put someone on LiveAccounts. So we do recognize that the appeal of software as a service or software and a service, you know, with the cloud connectivity is gaining a lot of momentum in the market. And it's really exciting now that we have AccountWrite Live coming on board. For the businesses who really have more sophisticated accounting needs or want more of the bells and whistles of the really powerful accounting tools like AccountWrite. So if you're thinking about a particular client and you're thinking about the cloud options, it's really important, again, just to remember that LiveAccounts is at the simple end of the spectrum. I think that's about enough of me waffling on. Let's actually have a look at the product.
All right, good morning everyone. Okay, so whilst Susan is logging into LiveAccounts, so what we thought we'd do is give you a bit of an overview as to some of the features that are in LiveAccounts. So we'll give you a bit of an overview. And because taxable payments is something that is top of mind, as in it occurred on the 1st of July this year, or it's been implemented by the ATO, we have quite a simple process within LiveAccounts to record your taxable payments, your suppliers, and what are we going on here, Susan? All right, so we're almost there. So we will log in shortly.
We were just demonstrating what happens when you use a browser that hasn't been updated, so a bit of an out-of-date browser, if you will. And so LiveAccounts popped up the message that said, your browser might not be up to the task. You can continue to use LiveAccounts if you want, or here, this is how you could upgrade.
Excellent. All right, so Brock1 and password, and we're in. All right, so one of the mantras or the philosophies that we use within LiveAccounts is really the keep it simple approach, the KISS approach. And so what we've done with taxable payments is we've really tried to make it very, very simple. So if you're actually someone who, sorry, Susan's getting in. So if you do have a client and the client is in the building and construction business, then what you do, go into your business details and you'll actually tell LiveAccounts, yes, this client is a taxable payments business and I have to report on that. And once that's ticked, certain things will begin to appear within LiveAccounts. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because not everyone in business in Australia is part of the building industry. So why show these new fields, these new questions within the within LiveAccounts if they're not going to be used? So now that that's ticked, what we'll do is certain things have been activated, turned on within LiveAccounts. So we'll go into contacts. Now the contacts system within LiveAccounts is very, very similar to the card system within AccountWrite. It shows you all of your customers and your suppliers. Now, because we're talking about taxable payments, we're really only concerned with our suppliers. So what we'll do is we'll show you, we'll go into a supplier. I think we'll go into Joanne Scarborough. And you'll see there now there is a new flag on the top right-hand side asking, is this supplier a reportable supplier? Now, we've flagged this as with a tick, so yes, Joanne Scarborough is a reportable supplier. And what this means is, from now on, when I deal with Joanne, every time I create a spend money or an expense, LiveAccounts will automatically designate that transaction, so that expense or spend money, as a reportable payment. Now, as you're creating those two options, you have control, and you can obviously change it to being reportable or not reportable. And I'll show you what we mean by that. We'll go into expenses. Now, you'll see here on the expenses list that the expenses list is the same as creditors. So these are invoices that we've received where the business owner needs to pay that off in 30 days, for example. And you'll notice on here that I've been quite poor in paying my bills. I've got some overdue bills. I think they're all overdue. The two that are remaining are overdue. And you'll notice there that two of them, there's a new flag there called reportable, the R flag, showing me straight away that this transaction was reportable. So what we'll do is we'll quickly go into an expense. We'll create an expense. And you'll notice here, we'll select Joanne. And you'll notice that Joanne automatically appears as reportable. Now, I could go down into the depths of this expense and add the rows and whatever the expense is, or whatever the spend money is. But you can notice there that as the ATO requires you to nominate, does this payment represent a taxable payment or not, we can actually tick that or untick that at any stage. All right, an area that I think probably most partners will be spending a fair bit of their time in is our banking area. So we'll go into that and we'll have a quick look. So the banking area is the place where LiveAccounts shows you all of the bank transactions that are within this business. Now, there are two ways that you can bring in your bank transactions into LiveAccounts. The first way is that you can go log into your online banking. You can download the bank transactions using a QUIF file format, and you can very easily import that into LiveAccounts. The recommended way, though, is that you actually link your bank account into LiveAccounts. And the reason why it's recommended is it's very simple, it's very easy, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's part of your monthly invoice for LiveAccounts. LiveAccounts at the moment has over 100 financial institutions in Australia that are linked directly into LiveAccounts, and the vast majority of these provide feeds, which is bank transactions coming into LiveAccounts on a daily basis. So if we have a look down here, you'll notice that some of the transactions, actually quite a lot on this screen, have got a green tick next to them. Now, the green tick is telling you, the user of the product, that LiveAccounts has done something for that transaction, has allocated it to an account, has allocated or matched it to an invoice. Can you just quickly check it? Now, you'll notice that 4 from the top, there was an inflow of funds of $676.31. What LiveAccounts has done is it's gone in and looked in the debtor's ledger and said, do I have an invoice outstanding? And the value of the outstanding amount is $676.31. And the answer in this case was yes, I do have that. And what LiveAccounts has done is matched those two together, the outstanding invoice and a bank transaction. Obviously, I've got the power to change that if it is incorrect. If it's not, it's absolutely fantastic, because LiveAccounts has also gone into the back end and it has marked this invoice as not outstanding, it's fully paid, and the invoice is done. If there are multiple transactions, so let's say there were multiple $776.31, LiveAccounts will not automatically match those transactions. What it will actually do is tell you, hey, I actually have several matches here. Which ones would you like to do? Alright, and there's an example there. where LiveAccounts is actually telling you that, hey, I have a few matches, please check. So LiveAccounts is actually helping you through that matching process. Another way that LiveAccounts does a lot of the work for you is by creating rules. Now, what is a rule? A rule is something that you tell LiveAccounts, hey, the next time I see a certain transaction, I want you to do X with. Now, you'd only do this specifically with your recurring transactions. So let's say I always go to Caltex, and every time I go to Caltex, I want that amount to be allocated directly to the account motor vehicle. I can do that. Now, I'll give you another example, and what we'll do is we'll go into a rule. We'll create a rule, and we'll create a rule for Joanne Designs. You'll notice she's the top one there, and it's allocate me. So Joanne Designs is a new designer for my new accounting, for my new building and construction business, and I know that all of her payments are reportable. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a rule, and what we're going to do is, because I'm the one that's actually creating that payment to Joanne, I'm the one obviously going into internet banking and saying, right, what is the text that's going to appear on my bank statement? What I'm going to do is, every time I deal with Joanne, I'm going to type in the words Joanne Design. So, as you can see on the screen, LiveAccounts has automatically picked up the words Joanne Design. I'm not worried it's going to be every amount. I'm not going to split this transaction, but I am going to mark this as reportable. So I'm going to mark it as reportable, and I'm going to assign a supplier to it, so Joanne Scarborough. And what I'm going to do is I'm now going to allocate this to the subcontractor's account. Okay, now if we just save that and then go back to the banking screen, hopefully we will see that that first transaction has now been allocated automatically by LiveAccounts, as you can see there with the green tick. It's been allocated to subcontractors, and we automatically have the tick there as reportable. So it's very, very simple to use. The more that you train LiveAccounts, the more that you have these recurring type transactions, the more that LiveAccounts will do this type of work for you, and it just makes that whole process very, very quick and very easy. All right, once we're happy, let's say we're happy with our banking transactions, what we're doing is let's go into reports. Now, LiveAccounts has the usual basic reports that you require with any accounting system: your P&Ls, your balance sheets, your trial balances, your sales reports, your purchase reports, etc. But what we're going to do is we're going to go into the taxable payments report. This is one of the new reports that we're doing. This is now a drill down report, and it's one of the, as I said, drill down, and it's interactive. So you can see here that on the screen, you can see that I have my supplier Joanne Scarborough, and you can see that for the period, these are the reportable transactions for Joanne. If I were to drill down into one of those, I will then be able to see the bank transaction, the spend money or the expense, and if I really need to, I can untick or tick that it's reportable in case it was incorrectly recorded in the first place. We don't actually have a print button or an electronic lodge button at this stage because the ATO are actually not ready to receive this. However, by the time that that does happen, so these are due late July 2013, rest assured for both LiveAccounts and AccountRight, we will be able to print and electronically lodge these. Alright, so that was just a very quick overview of LiveAccounts. There's obviously a lot more. There's invoicing, and then there's obviously payroll. And what we're going to do now, I'm going to hand over to Susan, and Susan's going to give us a little bit of an overview of the payroll product.
Thanks, Richard. So to talk a bit about payroll, I think it's really important to understand, or just to bear in mind, why payroll is designed the way that it was. So if you think back to the sort of target market for this product, the kinds of businesses that it was designed for, it's those that are really underskilled in terms of accounting, and particularly in a place like payroll, it's an area that causes a lot of anxiety for them. We know from our research, as I'm sure you know very well, that the whole concept of payroll and compliance and making sure that you're paying your employees what they're entitled to, at the right time, in the right way, can be really anxiety inducing. And so it was important that the payroll feature that exists within LiveAccounts was really appropriate to the kinds of businesses that would be using it. At its heart, payroll is basically 3 steps. Confirm your dates, choose which employees you want to pay, and then run the pay itself. In this instance, probably one of the most important things is really around setting up an employee. So for this example, we'll just have a look at one of the employees that already exists. So you could click from the name of the employee in that list, or you could go to view the full list here. So now that we're into Joanne, you can see that a few of the fields are highlighted in yellow, and the reason for that is that those are the required fields. Again, we try to require only the barest amount of information that the system actually needs to work. If we don't absolutely require it, we try to keep it out of the way. Again, the more things that this particular type of business needs to get their heads around, the more confusing the process can be. And so we try to focus on keeping it simple. You can see we can handle various scenarios if the employee has a TFN or not, whether they're paid on an hourly rate or an annual salary. The superannuation employer super contribution has defaulted to the standard 9%, but that can be overwritten if for any reason it needs to be. So again, we really try to guide the business through this process, giving them help where they need it, but also making the product customizable or flexible enough to handle various situations. So once we're ready for the next section, we can just click on to tax. When we did user testing around this, we found this a really confusing area. You would know better than anyone how important it is to make sure that an employee is set up correctly in the first place so that all the calculations that flow on from that will be correct. But what we found was that a lot of employers found it difficult to answer questions around the various facets of tax. And so what we did was we actually took our cues from the TFN declaration, which is something that they would all have with them, and basically made it as simple as copying information from one place to the other. So here you can see we've got a link to the TFN declaration just in case a business should need more information. And if you have a look here, you see, are you an Australian resident for tax purposes? That's question 7. And if we go back to LiveAccounts, you can see question 7, Australian resident for tax purposes. There's no interpretation, there's no expertise involved. It's simply a case of transposing information from one place to another. Once we've answered all of the questions here, we just tick at the bottom, yep, I've checked these answers, match the information given by the employee, and move on to the next step, which is additions and deductions. This is the place where you will specify what types of pay the employee is entitled to receive. And again, you'll see it's quite flexible, but doesn't actually require a tremendous amount of knowledge to do it successfully. So for example, within other types of pay, you can use penalty rates. We know that even within simple businesses, there's often a need for multiple different rates, possibly Saturdays and Sundays or evenings and weekends are paid at different rates. And it's as simple as typing in a description, setting a standard rate, and ticking whether they're eligible for super and annual or sick leave. If you want to add another, as you saw Richard just did, you just click the add another button at the bottom, and if you want to delete that row, you just click the X on the right hand side. You'll see also there's the ability to add bonuses and commissions, and we know that this is, again, a particularly confusing area. So what we've done is utilize contextual help on the right-hand side. That's providing just enough information about this to give someone what they need in order to just proceed. Sometimes this will include links out to the ATO for more information or instructions that they should be talking to their bookkeeper or accountant. But the idea is to give them the help they need while they're in the place confronting the problem, as opposed to making them go search around somewhere else to find it. On this page, you would also set any allowances or deductions, and you can see the tables work in the same way, so the paradigm becomes familiar. You add another row at the bottom, you delete the row at the right. You can see in these cases we've put in a few examples. So, for example, accommodation or a motor vehicle allowance under allowances, and say union fees or rent for deductions at the bottom. Once we're all happy with that, we will go along to the next tab, which is leave. You can see at the top we have a standard tick, which is yes, that we pay annual and sick leave, and options within annual leave to either set an amount that will be prorated or a fixed amount of leave that the employee is entitled to. And that would just be in a situation where they will accrue this leave regardless of how much they work. You have the option to create an opening balance. So should you be coming onto LiveAccounts in the middle of a financial year, or if you're coming from another system, you just enter the opening balance there. Sick leave works much the same way, with an annual entitlement and an opening balance. The next tab we've got at the end is just for notes. This is just a place where Joanne loves red roses. This is a place where we can add information about our employees, but it's not required. So should you want to treat LiveAccounts as a bit of a database with all the contact and other details for your employees, that's absolutely fine. And if it doesn't serve that purpose for you, then you're not actually required to put anything in here. You can see another use, for example, keeping track of when Joanne had sick leave. So we can just cancel out of this, or we could save. And that takes us back to the list of employees. So let's just go back to the home page within payroll, which is the pay center, and let's get ready to run a pay. So in this instance, you can see the last pay run was actually the 22nd of April, and that's just because this is a demo account. We've been a bit slack about paying employees. Because LiveAccounts knows that I tend to do a weekly pay, you can see that it's already set the dates, the from and to, and when it will be paid on. Again, a situation where it's defaulting as a help to the user, but it can be overwritten. So if, for example, you're going on holidays and you want to run a pay before you go, you can just simply change the dates here. Let's go ahead and select our employees to pay, and here we've selected all of them. Now you can see there's an email tick box on the right hand side, and that gives us the option. If when we set up the employee we included an email address, it's really easy to just email pay slips directly out of LiveAccounts as part of the process of running the pay. If for some reason you don't want to email an employee, you can simply untick that box. And let's start the pay run. So what will happen here is we'll have a list of the employees that are being paid or have been included in this pay run, and you can see the list on the right hand side. On the left is a panel of the detail for each of those employees, and it's simply a process of going through each employee, updating any of the rates or hours or allowances or deductions, and adding any notes that you'd like to appear on the pay slip. For this example, let's just say that Jenny Wu worked a bit of overtime, so she had 45 hours at $5 an hour. And
pretty heavy week. Pretty heavy week.
And all her accruals continued as per current. She didn't actually take any leave this week.
Oh, I did that the wrong way, didn't I?
Yeah, that's what I was laughing about.
I'm going to give her more pay now. There you go.
There we go. That's a bit more likely. It's a lot of overtime, or a very great overtime rate. I'd like to work where Jenny works. And so you can see, again, the fields are pre-populated, but they can be overwritten. If you have any notes that you want to appear on the payslip, you just add them in the box at the bottom. And when you're happy, you can just click Next Employee, the button at the bottom. Or if you wanted to drill into a specific employee, you can just click their name on the right-hand side, and the panel will update as well. Once we are happy with all of the pays for each of the employees, the next step is to review pay slips. If for some reason you get interrupted though, your work can simply be saved and you can come back to it later. So let's click Review Payslips, and off we go. Now the payslips are all listed one after another. That's just for review purposes. Each employee will only receive their payslip, but you can see they've also been branded. So I've had the option as a business to set up my business logo, which will appear on all of the payslips. You can see it's a completely standard compliant payslip and includes all of the information that an employer is required to provide. And you can see, for example, at the bottom of this particular payslip, great work this week, Jenny. And that's an example of how a note would appear on a payslip. Now, going forward, all we would need to do is to click Finish the Pay Run. There is a Return to Pay Run option, just in case in the process of reviewing the payslips you've found any anomalies or things that need to be updated, and you can go back and make those changes. This is the summary page, so this is sort of your last view of everything that will go into the pay run. And when we did test with users this screen, we found that they were very clear on what they had to do, so they understood what the task at hand was, but they weren't sure that they actually had the information that they needed to evaluate whether the amounts were all correct. And so what we've done here is to add this last pay column that appears right next to current pay. And the feedback from testing and the feedback since the product's been in the market really has been amazing. People feel really confident that just by having a reference point of the last pay, they have just enough information to say, yep, okay, so the current pay looks roughly what I would expect, or it looks way too high or way too low. Enough of a trigger just to say to me, I need to go back to the pay center and go through this again and figure out why those numbers don't look right. Assuming in this case there are none of those anomalies, we would just finish the pay run. And you'll see this is probably one of the longest waits you'll ever have with LiveAccounts. And the reason that it may take a second or two is simply because it's doing a lot in the background. So it's updating the pay run, it's writing all of the journals for each of the pays, and it is emailing any of the pay slips that need to be emailed. All up, even though I said it was a long wait, it was really probably only a second or two. You can see once we click OK, now the last pay run has been automatically updated and the dates for the next pay run have advanced. So it's basically all set up, ready and waiting for the next time I come in to do a pay. I think you'd see from that that it's pretty simple. The feedback, again, on this feature has been amazing. I do know, I'm not sure what questions are coming in through the Q&A panel at the moment because I don't see it on my screen, but I can just tell you that a lot of the questions that we've had have been around various other features that are typically expected within a payroll system. Things like state payroll tax or timesheets. And I think it's just really important to remember that LiveAccounts is really intended to be a very simple product and will never have all the bells and whistles that you'll see in some of the more sophisticated products or you would see in something like AccountRite. That said, we do have thousands and thousands of businesses that are using the payroll and using it quite successfully. So we're really happy with where it's evolved to. So we're just going to jump back in. I think that's a great picture of sort of where LiveAccounts came from and a bit about how it works. Let's just have a quick chat about how it is evolving. We do go through a process here when we talk about how to develop the product, and at the heart of it really comes listening. The feedback that we get from partners and from our clients is so important and really is at the heart of everything that we do. The process we basically go through is around listening for the feedback, distilling the ideas down and separating out what people want sometimes from what they need. Also understanding what's best practice, and not just in the world of accounting software and not just in Australia, but in the online sphere across the board. What are the paradigms people are using that will make this product that much more familiar and easy to learn? And also, what's going on in accounting software around the world? Globally, are there any new ideas, things that we can leverage? We then really start to explore concepts, we test them, and we release them, and the whole cycle starts again. Here are just some of the examples of the places that we do try to garner feedback, and your feedback is always welcome, so we'd love to see you on the community forum if you're not there already, or you can always drop a line to ideas at LiveAccounts. Some of the things that we do around distilling ideas down, competitive analysis, and really identifying best practice. When we talked about concepts, testing concepts is really important for us, and what we try to do is evolve our ideas as much as we can before we have a developer write a single line of code. And so this is just an example of some of the iterations that our payroll screen that you just saw went through. So you can see how layouts would change, languages change, some of the actions would change, and the activities. And that really comes through a process of testing and refining and continuing to ideate and test and refine until we feel like the concept is strong enough that it will be clear and easy to use, and then we can build it and release it. And once we release, you can imagine in a world where we do have this online product and we have an incredibly frequent release cycle, we tend to release updates to LiveAccounts roughly once a fortnight. Lots of those will be small releases and sometimes things that many users may not even notice. But we take real pride in making sure that people are across what we're doing. So one of the things that you'll see is this little notice board that appears on the home page. It's just a little note that gives a bit of an explanation of something that might have happened, or to make people aware that there's a change to the system that they've been dealing with. And it'll often include a link to more information or to more detail around the feature and how it would work in case there are any changes that they might be confronted with. And for just an example, both in terms of the release but also in terms of how we plan new features, when we released payroll originally in Australia, we went through that whole process and you saw some of those mock-ups. But when the product actually first went out, when the first payroll became available, within the first few days we started to get feedback very quickly from our customers that they were coming in and just having a play with the payroll feature and sort of accidentally committing a pay run. It became pretty clear that was a scenario we hadn't considered, and so within probably a couple of weeks we were able to release a new feature to allow them to delete a pay run. And I think it's just important to mention, not because that is a very common scenario, but just in terms of us setting ourselves up to be responsive, to be able to go through that process of listening and distilling, exploring concepts, building something and releasing it, and to expect that cycle to continue. So we see ourselves on a constant evolution, and by being really close to our partners and our customers, that's the way that we can make sure that we continue to evolve in that way. In terms of continuous delivery and that fortnightly release cycle, if you happen to be at Partner Connection in Brisbane last year, you would have seen a slide much like this. And this was around some of the things that we had released at the time, just some of that, some examples of that continuous delivery. When we released payroll in New Zealand, I updated that slide to just include a few additional things that we had been working on in the time since, and just again, since that we updated with Payroll New Zealand, I've updated the slide again so you can see even more. I think I'm running out of room on this slide. We'll have to find another way to communicate this. But just to give you the sense of how frequent and ongoing the improvements are, we see LiveAccounts as just constantly being enhanced. And that's how we've set up our whole delivery pipeline in order to support that. And similarly, the processes that we've followed are the same that we'll follow moving forward. So over the next while, the things that we'll be focusing on are really around our core feature set. For the most part, we're really happy where it's settled, and it does definitely seem to meet the needs of this target market really well. The breadth of the feature set is pretty much bang on, but however, the depth in a few areas is something that we think we can certainly improve. So a few gaps that we intend to fill are things like the ability to create quotes that could then turn into invoices, a bit more customization around invoices. So right now you can brand your invoice with your logo, but we feel that, and the feedback that we've had certainly is that there's a bit more customization in terms of the content that goes onto the invoice and how it appears. That would be really important to LiveAccounts users. And also the reports. So whereas many of our reports are downloadable as a PDF, the GL Details report is currently available in Excel. We believe that, and again, the feedback from particularly from partners has been that drill down reporting is a really important feature. And so that's something that we're going to be kicking off shortly, starting to release reports where you can, as you saw with the taxable reportable payments report, you can actually drill down into the data. So if you find something that, if a report surface is something that you need to change, it's easy enough to do it from within that report. Secondly, in terms of the features, while we're happy with the features that we have today and what they do, I think what happened with payroll is really set an amazingly high benchmark for usability and for user experience, and particularly to make us really best positioned to serve those businesses that don't know a lot about accounting or accounting software. We want to continue to just build on that simplicity and extend that amazing experience throughout the entire product. So you can expect to see continuous enhancements around that throughout LiveAccounts. Finally, we're working on the platform for growth, and that's really about building LiveAccounts on top of an API that would allow us to look at things like migrating data in and out of LiveAccounts. So should you want to convert either from or to another accounting product like AccountWrite or even an Excel spreadsheet. Also things like integrating with other MYOB products, making data accessible to the accountant's framework, or even to other third-party applications that might do things like timesheets, for example, and having that all plug into LiveAccounts. So we do intend to build a really extensible and integratable product. And that's what you can expect to see. So how do we know that we're on the right track? The product's been in the market for probably just on 2 years now. What are the things that indicate to us that we're doing the right things and we're spending our efforts in the right place? Probably the first and one of the most important is our subscription rate. Now this is not just free trials, but actually paid subscribers. We've seen the subscription rate double year on year for both of the last 2 financial years, and that definitely indicates that we are doing quite well. So we're really pleased with that. The uptake has been amazing, and when we were at Partner Connection, Tim had actually referenced the proportion of new registrations within MYOB that come from LiveAccounts, and we're seeing that somewhere on the order of around 20%. So if you've been wondering whether LiveAccounts was a tide me over until AccountWrite Live was in the market, I think that should show you that that's actually not the case. We definitely, MYOB is behind LiveAccounts 100%, and the take-up in the market has really validated our hypothesis that the need was there. So we're really excited about that and what it means for the future. The other really interesting bit of data is around our NPS score. So you may or may not know much about the Net Promoter Score, but it is a methodology that's being embraced globally. And essentially what it does is it tracks your customers' willingness to say good things about you and to recommend you to their friends or colleagues. We've seen a 4-fold increase in just the previous 12 months alone. And what that tells us is that not only are our customers really happy with the LiveAccounts and the sum total of their experience, but they're so happy that they're willing to share it with their friends. So again, it indicates to us that we're doing the right things and moving in the right direction. I am a bit biased as the product manager, so please don't just take my word for it. Just a few comments that we've gathered from some business owners using LiveAccounts. Things like how it's better for us tradesmen, extremely easy for us to use, good functionality without all the extras our business doesn't need. And the last one, which was really, again, when you think about someone who doesn't know a lot about accounting and has never used accounting software, even though I'm learning, I never feel like I'm over my head. To me, that's such a great endorsement in terms of meeting the needs of this particular group. But possibly more importantly even is what our partners say. So of the people who are working with LiveAccounts, we do get an incredibly solid amount of feedback, both constructive and praising. Just to share some of the comments that we've gotten with you, I have clients tell me this is just changing my life. They're loving it. Perfect for clients that didn't need all that functionality. So again, when we talk back to simplicity and streamlining the feature set and the benefit that comes with that, it definitely helps us embrace that kind of a philosophy and know that for this particular target market, less is more. And it's great for people starting out. Anyone can use it. And just to give you some examples, I've got here
LiveAccounts absolutely has allowed me to put clients on to accounting software that would never have considered it. I mean, I would think that I have, I can't even count the number of clients that have benefited from having software that they never thought was imaginable. You know, they always think of accounting software as hard, cumbersome, costly, and at $25 a month, you know, it does everything for them, so it's awesome.
When new clients come to me talking about using MYOB, then the first thing I ask them, and we talk about, is LiveAccounts, because for 90% of my small clients in this region, it meets their needs. And we can set it up in a really simple format. They can pick it up really quickly. It takes them very little time to keep up to date, and then they can get on with their real business.
So I think that just gives you a bit of a sense of the kind of feedback that we're getting, and probably better hearing it from the horse's mouth. No offense to our partners. So in terms of the product itself, it is basically, it is a subscription product. Obviously, it's software as a service. It is an online package, and it is available for only $25 a month. So, you know, for all of the features, including payroll, it's a pretty phenomenal price point. Generally, after this presentation, people are thinking, wow, that's great, and I've got clients that's for. So the next question probably is, how do I get started? The good news is it's really easy. All you need to do is go to the MYOB website and register as an advisor. It's within, you can find it in the partner section, so becoming a partner, look for the LiveAccounts advisor section, and you'll see all the information that you need there. It's free, it'll only take a minute, and it'll allow you to not only create LiveAccounts businesses for your clients, but also access the business once they're up and running. There is a raft of materials there available to you, everything from how to recognize a client that would be good for LiveAccounts to instructions on how to set them up and get started. Once you are ready, you can log in and just add a new business. You can set up the business, including their chart of accounts, and even get their bank feeds kick-started, so process all of that and get those on the way, and then simply click the handshake icon next to the business once you're logged in, and that will hand the business over to the client. Of course, at that point you'll still have access, so you can log in at any time to, you know, check what's happening or answer any questions. And because of Partner Connection, really, we have been we had a special offer in place to partners, which was really around making it a bit easier to help migrate clients to LiveAccounts right now. So for any clients who sign up until the end of September, we are offering an extra 3 months free. So what that means is, in addition to the standard 30-day free trial, they'll get an additional 3 months without paying a dime. Can you say a dime in Australia? So that is the special offer, and if you do have any questions, you can contact your account manager and they'd be more than happy to help. And this is the point in Partner Connection when we would break for morning tea. So I think today you'll have to cater your own morning tea, but that's all we've got for you today. If you do have any questions, please do feel free to jump on the forum or to contact support. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.